Welcome to Warragul Gazette's Behind the Headlines. I'm Alyssa Fritzlaff, and today I'm talking to David Lamb, Leanne Gooding and Alex Kirkbright about Warragul Theatre Company's upcoming musical Les Mis, which is running at West Gippsland Arts Centre from the 20th to the 28th of May. So this isn't the first time Warragul Theatre Company has performed Les Mis, is it?
It's the third time.
The third time. And what years did that happen in?
It was 2010 and 10 years prior, so it would have been 2000.
Yep, and do we have any sort of recurring cast members or production members?
There are quite a few.
John Black,
yeah.
Phil Coombs, Nicole Coombs, Michael Winterton.
And didn't David musical director last time?
Yeah, and Peter Larson.
Wow, that's really exciting. Yeah, cool. Alright, so Leanne, you're one of two production managers working on this show,
Well,
is that
actually, Hayley's decided she's only the assistant, so...
Yeah.
She sells herself short.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
She's much better than you.
Thank you.
So can you talk me through what your role entails?
Basically gathering cats. It's really managing all aspects of the show. It's really hard to explain what a production manager does.
Just a bit of everything?
It really is. Yeah,
Make sure it doesn't fall apart.
Yeah, in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, fantastic. Alright, so you are both cast members, David and Alex, so can you tell me first, David, maybe, who's your character and what's so fantastic about playing him?
So I play Jean Valjean, and he's the protagonist. It sort of starts and ends with him. It's all about me, is what I'm trying to say. It
kind of is, though.
So the story spans 18 years in 19th century France, from 1815 to 1832, I think. And it follows somewhat Jean Valjean's journey from leaving prison, where he's been for 19 years, to sort of escaping his parole, trying to start a new life, and all of the people that he sort of meets and interacts with along the way. And above that, there's the political situation in France at the time. So there was a revolution, there was a huge underclass, people were poor and starving and struggling. And it turns into a story about miscarriages of justice and how our lives can change when we act from love, which is at the centre of it, it's a really beautiful and moving story, and it happens to be matched with some of the greatest music ever written for the stage, which is, lucky for us, I think. But yeah, so Valjean's story it's so great to play because there's just a huge amount in there. He goes through so many changes, he questions his decisions, he tries different things, and ultimately becomes about self-sacrifice to save the people that he loves, which is beautiful, I think. And I think there's similar things in Eponine's story, isn't it?
Yeah, so Eponine is my role, and so she's the daughter of Madame Thénardier and Thénardier, and to me it's like she starts off with, being like the favourite child of her parents, and Cosette, who's gets adopted by them, she's, the one that's getting mistreated and everything like that, and then by the time that they're adults it's kind of flipped, and so Cosette has, what, is this a spoiler thing?
I think the story's been around for a couple of hundred years, and we
can't
possibly spoil it. If you don't know what it's about by now.
So yeah, then Cosette's been brought into this awesome life with Valjean, and he's taken her under his wing, and Eponine's kind of become quite independent to live for herself, and she's very much about the people and the revolution, and she's just, I think of her as very hopeful.
Yeah.
In her, her life is so awful with the parents that she has, and she's quite poor, and she's very hopeful still that something's going to happen for her, and she just loves Marius, and she says there's been no one like him anywhere. And so that's her kind of main focus of her life, because he's the only sort of light in her life.
Yeah.
And that kind of dictates her choices and ultimately she, remains true to that forever.
Yeah, lovely. So this might be a bit of a question for Leanne. So what were auditions like? Sort of how many people did you have come in at the beginning, and what did you end up with?
I think there were about 80 that we had. And the callbacks, it was really difficult because we had some fabulous talent. But yeah, we were a bit spoiled for choice, really.
And how many are in the cast now?
There's 42.
42?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And is that a little bit less than what you've had in the past?
I think they were nearly up to 50 last time.
Yeah. So I'm assuming a lot of
enough.
So are a lot of the ensemble members quite busy then? Sort of running around and...
Yes and no. The men are.
Yeah.
Because we never ever have enough men, of course. So the men are, but the ladies don't have much to do in the second act, particularly.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But the acts... Oh, sorry.
You
But, like, with the ensemble, because the songs that they do come in are so pinnacle and so iconic, it's like, it just makes it so much stronger when you've got a strong ensemble.
It's a fabulous sound they're making, that's for sure.
Every single one of them, I think, would be able to play a lead in this show.
Oh, absolutely. They're very
we're
talented.
so lucky with the group of people that we get to do this with. And some of those songs, it's just going to blow the doors off the place. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so speaking of the music, so David Williams is the musical director, so what's it been like working with him?
You've worked with him before,
I worked with him when I was like 15.
Yeah.
So,
he's one of the, I guess, more well-known local names. Yeah.
He's done a lot in his career, and I'm sure there's heaps of things that we have no idea about the achievements he's done because he's so humble, and he doesn't often, it's not something he would advertise. But yeah, he's very, he loves this musical, so it's his all-time favourite, isn't it?
It is.
And you can see that in the way that he's like, actually, this one would sound better if you did it like this way, or, very particular, but for the big picture, which is great. And he's offered to, all of the leads have been able to go to his house and run through all their songs with him in his own time, and probably ensemble members too.
Yeah, he's been incredibly generous. And, for me, I'm not a trained singer. I just sort of sing for joy. I've had singing lessons in the past, but I've never been very professional about it. And he's been incredibly generous and patient with the imparting his knowledge, but also getting us to a point where we feel comfortable understanding what he's saying, sort of replicating the sound and the tone and the shape of the notes again and again and again and again. And again and again and again. So that we can get to, we've been going for 6 months now, almost.
Started December, didn't we?
Started December. And to be able to now get to the point where we're like, we're going to do 8 shows in the next 2 weeks. And I've just had a week off with COVID, and I feel like I'm going to be able to pick it up with the things that David's given us, and the skills that he's sort of passed on. So
wonderful.
That's really lucky.
Yeah, and Alex, you've got one of the most famous songs from the musical, On My Own.
Yes.
So can you sort of talk me through that? Was it sort of a thing you were worried about, or were you pretty confident?
I mean, it is me, when I perform, I am a bit worried about, not doing as well, but I think that's just something that I've grown up, and then over time it's kind of started to, that self-doubt has kind of come down a little bit. And yeah, so that's the song we auditioned with, and it's such a song that it's not a linear song, so it doesn't start like this and then end here. It's just back and forth, and it's kind of her own soliloquy, and so she is going back and forth in her mind about what it's like in her life, and just her kind of optimism, and then being like, oh no, this is real life. And yeah, so it is a challenging song, but it's just one of those songs that has always been a goal for me.
Yeah.
And so it's really fulfilling to be able to do the role.
Yeah. Wonderful. Cool.
Can I say she does it exceptionally?
I was going to butt in and say that too.
brings people to tears when we're sitting there in rehearsals. It's astounding.
Wow.
Don't talk
Yeah.
up too much.
No, this is what I've been telling people not to talk me up too much. I keep seeing Facebook posts where people are like, "This is Dave, he's wonderful." I'm like, "Shh, lower expectations."
And we've got Rob Robson directing. So what's it been like working with him as well? I mean, he was the manager of the Arts Centre for some time and that sort of thing.
No, Rob's been great, and he's directed the show a couple of times before around the place. I think in Shepparton.
In Shepparton that I know of. Yeah.
Yeah, and he brings just such a wealth of understanding, not just of the story, and obviously there's an entire novel which has about triple the content in it and so many backstories for characters and things like that, but he has an incredible capacity for research, and he comes in talking about the type of shoes that they would have worn in, like, we had a 15-minute conversation about this one type of shoe that they would have worn in France in that time, and I'm like, all right. And then he came in with a pair of them, and he said, these are from my garden, and they're the type of shoe, and you should wear them, and I'm wearing them on stage, and I'm like, great.
Rob's garden.
That's fantastic. Incredibly uncomfortable, works for the character. But he brings so much to it, and then he's just able to sort of sit back, feed all of these little things in, and just let us sort of flow. So I've really enjoyed working with him as a director.
Yeah, and you can tell how passionate he is about the arts in general. I mean, he used to be the manager of the Arts Centre, so he's gone for my boss there, and he's my boss here. So, but, like, you can tell that he just knows, the history of every little part of the show. And even his, like, set design, the amount of detail in that little diorama thing, I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I can just imagine little Lego people.
He literally built the entire set out of, like, cardboard and popsicle sticks and toothpicks. And the set is, I mean, when you see the show, it's complicated. It's like 8 different set pieces that are pretty tall and on wheels and rotate and they represent all these different things. And the way that he designed it and then Keegan built it, like, I'm looking forward to seeing it tonight.
And his
It's
daughter.
fabulous. It is fabulous. Yeah. He's been working 12-hour days on the set as well for the last week, so there's a couple of strings to his bow. Yeah, he's been working hard. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be pretty impressive. And Grace Attard was choreographer. What's it been like working with her? Do you guys have much of a dance background?
Yeah, do you?
I do
David
not.
was on Broadway.
Quite luckily, they let me off the dance auditions. I came in and sang, and they're like, "You've got some rhythm, but don't try and move." And I was like, "Okay." Valjean doesn't have any, solo ballet pieces, which is good.
Keep it strange, I think. Well, I know Grace from high school, so she was 2 years younger than me. So I've grown up with her, and she's very passionate about dance, and she teaches dance like full-time probably. I think it's full-time. So she has a lot of experience with figuring out what is working and what's not working, and that's been really helpful with choreographing some of the numbers, because sometimes it's hard to see what the big picture is, but I feel like she can do that.
Yeah.
And like, she did have some absences from, like, health issues, but so some of the bigger numbers, like the wedding scene and stuff, she's been able to handball to our other cast member Jess, which has been really good. And then when Grace has come in, she's just been able to tidy it up as well. And
so it sounds like she's had to do a bit of extra work then through, like, coordinating with Jess and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's been good having Jess in the background as well.
Yeah, because it's just helpful if someone's away or if someone's got COVID or whatever. Everyone's kind of stood up, and we've had people sing in for leads who haven't been there. I sang your part the other week.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Just calm down.
Just 3 words.
Off.
Just 3 words.
3 words.
One day more.
Oh, yes. Well, good ones to sing, I think.
But yeah, everyone's really good at stepping in when they need to.
Yeah, it's a great cast, actually. Really friendly.
Yeah, wonderful. And so I understand it's a pretty technical show. There's a lot going on. Is that something you were sort of prepared going in and that sort of thing, or?
It's a huge monster. And it's the kind of thing that, like, when they do the show professionally, the tech rehearsals will be 2 or 3 weeks in a theatre. We don't have the automatic revolves and things like that, but there's a lot that has to fit together in the right order and in the right time, because it doesn't just have to work with where we're moving, but it has to fit to the music. So it's not like the set can take a few extra seconds to move on because there's some pretty specific timing going on.
And because the show, you know, it's singing the entire time, or there's constant music. It's not like a musical where sing your song, have some dialogue, sing again, and give you that time. So that's why the crew just, you know, have to be spot on. Hey?
And they're in there at the moment today,
They are,
trying to figure everything out.
I think they're doing lighting plotting today.
Yeah, and we'll go in there tonight and be on the set, on the stage for the first time, and we open in 3 days. So that's not terrifying at all.
We will see the barricade turn. With its jockey wheel.
Awesome. So what's the last few weeks been like in the lead up to opening night?
Last week's been pretty quiet for me. Well, no, I lie. It's not been quiet. I've had a 3-year-old saying, "Why can't we go outside? Why can't we go outside?" She doesn't understand what COVID is. The last few rehearsals that I was at, you're seeing things come together because we've rehearsed bits in isolation for so long, and really stringing it together and feeling the arc of the show, and like discovering the pace of the energy and how you have to moderate yourself throughout so that you can get the entirety of it. It's been really impressive to see everybody sort of lift up to that level of performance.
And I think with a show, it has like natural arcs of energy and kind of like where you feel comfortable, and when some parts are like, oh, that bit is falling apart, or not. But like when you get towards the last few weeks, well, that's how it's felt like everything just makes sense. And when you have, you know, we've had rehearsals just us and the keyboards the whole time, but when you add the orchestra, everyone's just like, oh my god, like this is amazing, and it just lifts everyone's spirits, and then they can see the full picture of the show. And when you get to sing, like, because during rehearsals you do, alright, we're doing the start of Act 2, then we're going to jump and finish this scene and this part. It's a bit disjointed, but when you got to the point where you can run the whole thing, it just comes together and everyone's excited. And then the set came in and we're like, oh, this is so cool, it looks amazing. And it creates that nice, you know, arc at the end.
Yeah, fantastic. So are there any elements of the show that you're most looking forward to the audience getting to see? Like specific scenes or songs or...
The curtain call on closing night. That'll be a good relief.
It'll be a relief. You've got some fun before that.
Fun, yes. Fun. No, I'm particularly looking forward to seeing how the barricade comes together. Like I still haven't seen that.
It's fabulous.
In its entirety.
It's fabulous,
and we're both in that scene, so and it's a huge part of the second act. It is another character. So seeing how that works is going to be fantastic. But the way that it's been choreographed and rehearsed and put together, it's going to have huge impact for the audience. So I'm looking forward to seeing that very much.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the opening scene, like when you've got, you know, it's the start of the show and they sing Look Down, and just the music in it and the atmosphere brings, like, I'm always like, this is cool. And so I think that tone really sets the rest of the show as well, or helps set it. And I think, you know, the big numbers like One Day More, just the sound that the ensemble have is amazing.
Yeah, that's gonna...
And the orchestra are fabulous as well. They really are.
The orchestra are incredible. The first time we sang that with the orchestra, I started getting choked up. Like it sounds like nothing else. It's such a beautiful song and moment in the show.
David's brought a really great orchestra together.
They're incredible.
We're very lucky that the Gippsland Symphony Orchestra has been able to come and do that for us.
I'd say 99% of them are from there.
Yeah. And how long have you been rehearsing with the orchestra?
Only a few weeks, I think.
It's about 4 or 5 rehearsals, haven't you?
Yeah.
I've lost my concept of time, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, time has no meaning anymore.
Yeah, cool. So, do you have any sort of messages for your audience? Why should people come and see the show?
Personally, for me, you should always have a reason for doing a show at a particular time. Like, there's great pieces of theatre and there's great pieces of music, but everything sits really well with a particular time and for a particular reason with a particular message. And personally, I think everyone's been consumed with the election this year in this country, and there's so many messages about people doing it tough and how we can help people do better and different ways that we can do that. I really think there's no better time to be telling a story that is about injustice in the world and disparity and struggle to do better. And I think I said before, the way that we can help each other when we act from love. And it's just, it's an eternal message, and I think it's something that is so important for people to know and hear. Having it packaged together with some of the greatest music that has ever been written, I think is a wonderful gift for an audience. Yeah, that's my thought.
I don't think I can top that.
But can your stomach growl like mine?
I just think that the story, some people that are coming to see me haven't even seen Les Mis before, so it's very exciting for me because I'm like, don't watch the movie because I want you to go in cold. Yeah, and just the talent that we have in Gippsland is, something that should be celebrated, and people don't always have to go all the way to Melbourne to see great quality theatre. And we're so lucky to have such a beautiful art centre that's had this massive renovation to allow for a bigger audience to deliver all these shows. That's exciting to me.
I think that's a brilliant reason, on top of whatever the show is. I only moved down to Druin from Pakenham sort of in the middle of last year, and before that I lived in the city for so long. Doing this show and meeting the people who are coming from Traralgon and also doing shows in Bairnsdale and Sale and things like that, I never realised the depth of the community art scene out here. It is so incredible. So anyone listening to this, if you live in Gippsland,
come see.
Go and see some local art. Come see our show for sure. Ours will be the best, no doubt about it. But there's shows in Latrobe, there's shows in Bairnsdale and Sale. There's local music scene here is amazing. There's so much wonderful stuff going on that the community can support, and you never need to go to Melbourne again.
Yeah. And I think the shows make such an impact on people that come and see it. And I remember growing up here and watching Les Mis 10 years ago or 12 years ago and being like, that is really awesome, and just being cool. I've seen Britt Lewis do Eponine last time, and I was like, that is a role that I would love to play. And it inspires people who are interested in the arts or had never even thought about the arts to be like, oh, maybe I could do that. And that's why I think it should be supported.
Yeah, terrific. Well, thanks so much for sitting down and having a chat with me, guys. And,
You're welcome.
And we'll all be looking forward to seeing you on the stage.